Good evening, everyone. Good to see your faces. I see we have a few here that are not on the video part, which is fine. As long as you can hear, that's wonderful. All righty. We're broadcasting from Lilydale. I'm in my home in my office here at Lilydale, and we'll be broadcasting for the hour from here. I imagine everyone has had a little cabin fever, and you reach a point emotionally where it's like, I got to go do something outside the house. And today was nice enough I could go out and work in the yard in the shed and do a few things and get something done that I could feel good about getting accomplished. So look forward to talking to all of you. Tonight, I know everyone worries about the virus and what's going on, so I'm going to touch on that first. The energy I'm feeling is we're going to have a vaccine and it's coming up. I really believe that there's some foreign people involved that's coming up with a vaccine that'll be really good, work really well, and it's going to help a lot of people very quickly. And if we have that, I don't see that being very far off. I think by July, it's going to be recognizable what it is and what they're doing. And I could see them hanging back a little bit on just testing, but I feel they're going to come up with something that's really very good. And that way, when you have that medicine, it's going to take care of things. If you do get sick, it's only going to be very minor. It's not going to be anything major. And it will be a very positive energy for us. And I believe all of us will be able to have that available. The only thing I'm seeing in this country right now, you have some people that, let's say, have power and money, and they would like to manipulate it so whatever they consider the medicine is what's going to be sold and brought about. And I feel there's going to be some cheating and manipulating going on to try to make something look good that may not be good. So just be aware of them coming up with something. I'm sure the president's coming up with something that he thinks is going to work. And I don't trust everything that he would bring out or what he would back. And I just feel like there's some foreign people involved and it's going to come up with something really healthy and really good for us and no problem. And no more illness after that. There's a transformation going on with the illness that it is shifting a bit and it's shifting into other forms. And I feel that's going to transmute into other forms. And we just need to be aware of being a little aware of the health. I've worked with a lot of people already that have had it and healed from it and have gotten better and they now have the antibodies in their body that they fought things off, and a few of them didn't even realize they had it. So it's not something here that some people would think of as so horrible from before. And I know that we're going to get through this, and it's going to be very positive, and we're going to have a good outcome. And I believe that, God wanted us, let's say it this way, the only way God could get our attention is to have happen what happened. And we now have definitely got our attention, and we're now looking at our lives, realizing what are we really considering important, and what would be an aspect of life now that we should be looking at and considering certainly more important than what we have in the past. Reprioritizing things from football games and race cars to baseball games and really coming back to the spirituality and understand why we're here and what we're here to learn and grow and progress in. And that's sort of in the nutshell of what's really going on. I believe that now New York State, western end of New York is now opening up in the first phase. And I've been working with people over the phone and I've been working with people, in not in person, but over the phone and through Zoom. And I will be working with some people, I'm sure, in the future where I could probably have them here in the office in person and all the procedures that you normally have to go through. But there's a lot of mediums on the grounds, and they're here and they're working, they're waiting for people. Whether they do it in person or not is all up to them. But it's something that Loyal, I think, will end up having some services and some things being open. They haven't confirmed that yet, but I believe that's coming about. And I know there's a few places that are large places like Chautauqua basically said no, they were shutting down. And I understand that, but I have a feeling here they're going to shift things around a bit and open some things up in the future. So I think that'll work for all of us and certainly will be healthy and happier. So welcome you. Thank you for coming. We're broadcasting right here from Lilydale. And I was going to bring up a couple of subjects here other than the virus and what's going on. You know, I work with people in meditation, and I work with people building, working with their mediumship. And it's a little difficult to do when you're, you know, face to face on the internet like this, because I've had more personal contact, maybe one-on-one working with them, or I'd be teaching a class for fellowship and we'd have one-on-one, you know, time to have rapport. Now, on a meditative level, I believe that we have the opportunity now, and we utilize this in a really good way, to have that quiet time, peacefulness that we really need, and to not allow the physical world to, in essence, take over. Because the physical world, in some ways, has swallowed us up, and having a silent period and a quiet period of being on your own is a good thing. And to really look at the idea of why we're here and what lessons have we been bypassing, or what things have we been bypassing that we're needing to be aware of. You know, I find that in meditative level, the more we're in tune spiritually, the more the events in the physical world become easier. It becomes more of a flow of realizing what we need to be doing and how we can tap into spirit and how much they can actually help us. You know, I had a young lady here a short time ago I read for, and she was really new at this. It was her first reading, and one of the events that occurred was her grandmother and mother both came through and was giving her information about riding in her car, and something very mundane about a message, but yet it was very emphatic for her, because she just had a problem where the windshield wiper fluid ran out, and her window was streaking. And Spirit came in and told her about riding in the car and the difficulty she was having, and she had just gotten home before the reading. So, I mean, Spirit is around us and helping us at all times. And we're needing to realize that there's no big thing or little thing when it comes to Spirit. It's the idea that we're in tune to it, and we can relax and enjoy the awareness of it, and they can help us all the time. And when I look at things, I don't look at it as a real large thing or a little thing, or a very powerful thing or a very little thing. It's really meaningful to recognize that they're always around us and helping. And if we can allow ourselves a meditative level, being that we've given time now to really have silence and calmness, I feel there's a need to be able to do that. And as we do that, it's going to make a major difference in our ability to pick up on things in our physical world and physical life. There's a lot of things going on right now with people's jobs and home insecurities, all those things. But I really feel that this is just shaking things down a bit and making us realize what we're needing to focus on. So let's relax in a meditative way and recognize that Spirit's with us all the time. I'll do a show of hands here. How many of you have had experiences recently, because you've been at home, because you've had more time at home? How many of you have had more experiences where you felt Spirit or you felt guidance and you felt around you? Just raise your hand if you recognize those feelings. All right. Now, would you recognize it as something that's an increase from what you were used to previous to this pandemic happening? Or is it something that you find yourself working with equally as well as you did in the past? Because I feel an energy building, and we're being given a gift here. I believe there's a changing of energy and healing, and I feel bringing about a spirituality and an attunement that we may or may not always recognize, but it's certainly increasing. I have felt the energy changes in the world going on. Now, there are some people out there that are not going to feel the change. They're not going to recognize it, and most of them don't care. But I feel spiritually, those of us that are wanting to be in tune and really truly questioning what are we here for, I think we're really having an open door, and Spirit's so willing to help us. And be relaxed with the idea of knowing not only are they there, but it's going to be something that's an increase. I know sometimes, not every night, but I've been feeling Spirit's presence, and it gets stronger. And I feel the sleep pattern that I've been slipping into is a deeper sleep pattern. I've been sleeping deeper, and I felt an energy there that when I'm awakening, I know I'd been somewhere. I know I'd had some experience. I may not remember everything like a dream, but I recognize that those things are occurring and are occurring more often. Now, during the day, have you had any experiences during the day where you feel something you not fully understand what it is, but you're feeling it and you recognize it is somehow unusual or feeling like it's spirit letting you know they're with you? Because that's happening more often. I've been seeing and feeling things at home here, and I've been hearing things. I was working on some things outside in the shed, and as I was working on them, I felt my father's presence, and he expressing a few things to me I would readily understand. So I really feel that we have a window of opportunity with the experiences we're having, and it's not just due to the virus, but due to the idea that we're needing to take that time now to let ourselves be more in tune. As that relaxes, it's going to be working better. I know all of us have had some limitations recently, but I feel that switching our time over to the meditativeness is making a huge difference. I worked with a friend of mine, and he came to the house a number of times, and we were working with meditation and his attunement. And I've been finding that what we shared and what him or spirit would bring things through for him, I feel there's a few of you that we can certainly apply that to. And I feel an energy with you that everyone we're seeing on the screen right now and communicating with us, I believe that energy is opening up even more. As I'm sitting here, I feel an energy shift, and I feel we're needing to be aware of how much shift we're really having happen. How many of you at this point in time meditate on a daily basis? Raise your hands. Okay. Because the energy I'm feeling is that we're tapping into a new realm or a new energy, not just due to the illness energy that people are experiencing, but I feel the quietness and the centeredness in the world. There's a lot going on that's very positive. I know that not discounting the people that passed, the people that are missing, and the illnesses that are occurring, but I really feel that there's a real purpose for this, and it's a transition from the physical world that would be more negative and more people being manipulative. I think we really got away from things that we need to be in tune to spiritually, and now we're drawn back to it. And as we're drawn back, it's bringing more balance, bringing more harmony. I find that the spirit, they've been coming in more and stronger, but they're also showing me too, there's some decisions going on. I thought about this the one day after I finished the reading, and the lady said to me, she said, do we have all of the powerful people in positions that they shouldn't be in? And I had to laugh because some people look at things and think, well, everything from presidency on down, there's been so many things occurring that have been out of sorts, and people have not been focused and responsible in the manner they need to be. And I believe that that's now a wake-up call for everyone to really evaluate, where are we at? What are we doing? What responsibilities do we choose to have? That's making such a difference. Working with a friend of mine and enjoying working with him with the mediumship, I see dreams coming in stronger, and they're going to be manifesting more. I feel a few of you here with us are having dreams at times that sometimes you dream things that would depict the future. And it would be events in the dreaming that you depict upon the future and would work very well for you. That's going to be opening up more, and it's going to get stronger yet. We're dealing with the physical world, and we're here in the body, and we're going to deal with the physical world. But the energy I'm feeling, transitionally, I feel that we're going to be so in tune to so many things here. During the month of July, we're going to see a lot of things happen that are going to shift energies and change. And it's going to make a huge difference for people to not only be in tune, but to be at peace. And we're going to have that happen more yet. Really going to bring a lot of healing energy. energy into the world. I believe we're going to be drawn together more, even though we've been somewhat separate now in the sense of all the things that are going on. I believe we're going to be very drawn together, and it's going to be working together in a way that really should be all the time, and in many levels hasn't been, and that's now going to change. And it's a really nice energy to see it changing. I sometimes have wondered about the world and people's attitudes, and they're considering what's important. And I hope this changes things in a more in-depth way. I was going to ask if people have questions, and if they have questions about what's going on. Like a friend of mine, when we were doing the meditation, a little difficult with everybody on the air here to have time to just focus on a meditative time and meditate with you. I'm sure some of you may be bored with that, but I would look at the idea that I would give you some tips on meditation that may help you be in tune and using a focus. You know, some people just sit quietly and meditate, have some soft music, but I felt the healing energy building. And as we're talking tonight, I feel the healing energy for everyone involved here. How many of you felt a shift of energy since we've been on the air here? Raise your hands. A number of you are picking up on that, and the energy is going to be building even more. Being here in Lowydale is certainly an energy center, and I've been feeling the energy shifting here. You know, it's really interesting. I've been here most of my life in Lowydale in the summers, and you can feel the energy winding up and building for the season. And you can also feel after the season's over with how it unwinds and goes back to nature. And I find it fascinating that we're really having this opportunity to pick up on these energies and allow the energy flow to move through us in a really good way. Now I'm going to open it up for questions, and whoever wants to raise their hand first for a question, if we could do this in a way where it's not just a reading for you personally, but questions spiritually, I would glad to answer. Anyone want to raise their hand?
Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hi. I was wondering, one of the things that's been, can you hear me? Hello?
Can't hear you, Leah.
She muted herself.
Leah,
Okay,
you muted yourself.
there we go.
Oh, am I unmuted?
Nothing.
Okay, it says I'm
They can
unmuted.
hear her. They can hear her.
They can hear her.
Oh, because you're on
Hi.
test.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes.
No,
My
I
question,
can't do. We're having audio and internet issues here.
oh,
And give us a moment here.
It won't do both.
Okay.
Hang on.
Leah?
yes, hello, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you now.
Great. The question I had, or what I've noticed, is that because we've been in war, I find that I used to have people who I would sit with when we would meditate, and
Yes.
I'm not in that energy of the group, and so I find that my schedule of meditating has been interrupted, and
Yeah.
so I don't find that I'm because I had set times and days when I would meet with my group to meditate, and
Yeah.
now I haven't had that. So I've been
Yeah.
finding it more difficult to get that place and time straight because I always had the same place and time before.
Well, I think it's once we create a pattern, it works very well for us, but it's also something that you're becoming more flexible in that energy, and you're beginning to allow it to occur more and not feel like you have to debate when you're going to do it. And I felt an energy there. I used to have a class. I did a class in my home when I was in Ohio for 20 years. We had the same people at the same night, same time, and same seats even. And we had no new people in. We had the people that were there, and that's what we kept. I didn't allow any new people involved in it. And it was such a powerful energy that once it was created and it was built up, everyone that if they couldn't make it that night, if something occurred to them that they, some event occurred that they couldn't make it, they were in tune and they were tapped in, and it was something
Mhm.
that worked very, very well. So if you want to think about that as an opportunity, that even though you're not physically with them, to be able to organize with them and set the time and day and all that, and set it up where that way, even if you're physically not there, that's okay because you'll tap right in.
What I'm finding is that I don't necessarily need to sit and to meditate, that I'm in a more relaxed state, being
Yeah,
at home, and energy just is around me and I'm just connecting to it throughout the day and not at one particular time or day.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That works very well, and that's something you're needing to do and needing to relax with the idea of letting that happen.
Hmm.
That's something you're becoming more flexible and more fluid. And as you become more flexible and fluid, it's just going to be an easier flow for you to allow that to occur.
Yeah,
That's a heightening of your ability, and that's a heightening of the attunement to spirit.
it surprised me at how much I have felt like my grandmother. I'm just feeling energy from people who I know have crossed, but I feel them so closely. It's like they're right there with me, and it surprises me at how strong the feeling is.
Well, I really feel with all the disruption that's going on the earth plane, the veil between the spirit world and us is really thinner than normal. And
Hmm.
we're having that ability to tap in because they're so willing to bring us healing and bring us help, and that they are in every way they can, they will. And it's something that as we relax and focus on that and them, it's going to work that much better for us.
Yes, and I feel a lot of gratitude just coming from me
Yes.
in my heart, just opening up and having all types of gratitude for so many different things that I didn't before.
Well, I look at it too, the simple thing of giving thanks that they're with us and that we're being helped and protected. It's so important to be in tune to that energy. And
Hmm.
how many times in life do a lot of people actually really choose to come out of the craziness of the physical world and come into that quiet space where we're asking spirit's guidance? There's so many ways of thinking in the world and focusing in the world that we take on, and we try to forcefully do it in an analytical manner, and we end up mucking things up because I see spirit as having a great deal better and more than what we're choosing or thinking we want. I've never had it happen where I'd put out the thought for something that I didn't get more or better.
Yeah.
And, not trying to put a serial number on it and say, this is exactly what I want. I've
Mhm.
watched people do that. My grandmother said to me one time when I was very young, I was probably 7, 8 years old. She says, do you want the carriage house behind the mansion, or do you want the mansion? And it was like just a real symbol of look at what spirit can do and give you and help you with. And that's where we need to be aware of those energies, because I
Mhm.
know there's a lot of people get very, let's say, selective on how they want to do something or what they want to have something. And we end up with what we want in some ways, but we always end up looking at it and thinking, but that isn't what we need. Spirit knows what we need, and they'll bring it to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
Thank
Someone else have a question?
Yeah, Rosina?
Rosina?
Rosanna?
Rosanna?
Rosanna, yeah,
Rosanna. Okay. I can
I
hear
am
you there.
perfect. I have a question as far as what your feeling is on deja vus. Like I've noticed the last couple of months that I have increased feelings of I've been at places before, like I could recognize I was at a party
Mhm.
and last month actually, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling deja vu. Like I've been here before,
Mhm.
the surrounding, the people, everything. And then this month, it's happened like twice to me. So it's like increasing. So I don't know if they're dreams that I've had, because you mentioned something earlier about having dreams that will tell you the future.
Yeah.
So it felt to me like they were dreams that I've had that I and then I'm living it.
Yes.
So like a foretelling of but it's so incredibly intense now.
Well, it's something building for you, and your ability to tap into that, is wonderful. It's a stepping up from the energy you were in to in more in-depth energy.
Yeah,
It's
that's
also healing because having the events in your life occur and you dreamt about them and you have that deja vu. Now, whether you remember a dream about them or you just have the deja vu itself where you're feeling that, hey, I've been here, whatever they're going to say, I know what they're going to say.
right.
And that's going to come out very strongly for you. You're in a transition of your own understanding and attunement. And the more you take time in a spiritual way, that is going to bring about even more yet. And that's going to continue. And I feel that everyone has an open door right now, that it's just easier to be in tune. It's easier to have these events occur. We can enhance them by putting out the intent and thought to be in tune more, and to, in a meditative way, put out that intent and thought, asking to be guided. We many times make decisions in a very conscious manner, and it's wonderful that we have that ability and free will, but it's also a circumstance that sometimes we actually muck things up where spirit has something for us that's even bigger and better, but we'll look at it and go, but I want this right here. And I've watched it happen so many times in people's lives, and you're tapping in more. And I feel to a degree, there's some new understanding you're getting that you sometimes are a little taken back by it. It's like, how do I know what I know?
Right. Yeah.
And that has been expanding for you, and it's going to continue to expand for you. And I want to say, keep at it.
Yeah, I definitely, even with all this virus stuff, like I've been able to tell my family, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what they're going to do. And it has kind of like taken me aback a little bit, because I'm like, wow, I've kind of been on the money with like
Yeah.
almost everything that has been happening. And
Mhm.
that's not the norm for me. I've always felt like I've felt spirit, especially when I was younger. I've always felt spirits and heard, but never like this kind of attunement. It's really, I can definitely say, yeah, the veil is very thin, because it's really been an exponential change for me.
Well, it's going to keep happening, and I feel the more you're in tune in a meditative attunement manner, you're just going to pick up more and more, and it's going to keep coming. And you're actually stepping beyond what would be the limits of the conscious mind, and you're starting to shift gears with trust, and you're allowing that to be the guidance instead of you trying to guide it in an analytical manner.
Yeah.
You also have guides with you that are helping you, and you've been having an experience of feeling a presence in your room at night, and there's moments you've had the feeling of presence and then it dissipates.
Yeah.
And that's a new guiding level, new and influential level of helping you, and a need to trust and allow that to come through and welcome their presence.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
That's
Thank you.
working wonderfully, dear. Enjoy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless.
Bless you.
Brooke.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good. About 4 or 5 years ago, I had a bunch of people checking out pretty rapidly, transitioning. And I remember talking to you about it, and you said a lot of people were transitioning at Lilydale at the same time. And you made a comment, which you won't remember, but you said like, oh, they don't want to be here for what's coming or something like that. And that really
Yeah.
stuck with me. And it made me think, and I remember thinking like, well, what's coming? And then of course, this feels like what was coming.
Yes.
And I know that everybody that is transitioning, that's part of the plan, and they're going, that they are going because they're ready to go. But it
Yeah.
just makes me wonder if there was something else, because as soon as you said that, I remember thinking, it just always stuck with me. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. And I remember thinking when this came, I'm like, that's it. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Well, that's very true, because I believe that there are exit times for people in large amounts, large numbers of people that I've watched that happen a number of times where during famines, wars, weather, I mean, I've seen many facets of why it would happen. But like the accident of so many people right now, I believe the transition spiritually for people, I don't believe it's an accident. I believe these things are happening, and those souls that left made a soul level choice in leaving. And I'll say it this way: analytically, in the conscious mind, certainly we'd want them all to be here, and we'd want them to continue on in good health and share with the families. And on a deeper level, spiritually, at a soul level, there's an energy there that they knew it was their time to go on, and the window of opportunity was there, and they left. And I know quite a few people that have lost people, and I've worked with a few people who lost people also. But we're looking at the energy there that you look at how many thousands of people have left the earth plane due to the virus, for example. And then you look at a war and how many people left the earth plane. And I feel that what's going on in transition now is somewhat of a cleansing of energy, not so much what they left, but a cleansing of energy in the sense of bringing importance back to life, bringing importance in our own lives as to what we're here for, and to restructure ourselves in a positive way. Now, I realize there's some people out there that have never got the memo and never thought about it, nor will they. And the only time they would is if they themselves were actually sick. But I feel this transition energy that it's a new awakening. And it's an awakening that's making people recenter themselves that they're not used to and would not normally consciously do on their own. So it's really an interesting time we're living in. And when you talked about the past, I felt things coming, but I honestly couldn't have said what it was. I felt it coming, that it was really going to be a shock and it would affect the whole world, and not just the idea of a state or the United States or just Canada or something. It was really going to affect everybody. And I read for people all over the world, and I've had different people say to me from like Japan and different places in the world, India and that, um, what's really going on in the world is drawing everybody back to a center point, that we each have our own center point, and we need to really re-anchor ourselves in that manner. And as we do that, we're going to be fine. But it's something that it took that almost forcefulness for us to experience things that make us do it and make us reevaluate it too.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard to talk about it and say it's a gift when so many people are suffering, but it is a gift in some
You
ways.
know, I find it's something there. I had a lady say to me, she was very worried about her son that passed. And I said to her, I said, remember something, there's a conscious mind and what we would like and want and desire and certain outcomes. And then you have the soul mind that we really know what we're here for. And when the soul mind steps in and takes charge, there's not that connection to just the physical world and hanging on to the physical world. It's hanging on to the soul level purpose. And a soul level understanding is so important. And it takes over. And, we've come here and we're blessed to have family and friends and people we have around us. But it's also a circumstance we have our own journey too. And in the midst of all of it, we still have our own journey, no matter how much we either have a sharing and effect on others, because it's there and it's certainly meaningful. I believe we're all teachers, we're all students, we're all gaining from each other. And if we could just accept that and do it in a loving and caring manner, boy, this world would be so different.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Jean?
Hi, Jean.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want you to speak to me, if you could, a little bit about the soul mind. I have, I'm still working from home going on, and I don't know, in order to connect with that more and be in that space where I get the guidance. You mentioned just now that's coming from the soul mind as far
Yeah.
as purpose and is that kind of like going with the flow? Or, I mean, how do you, I mean, when you get a feeling like you want to do something, might not be it, but
Mm-hmm.
if you're drawn to do something, you
Well,
told me once it comes back like 3 times, then that's like they're trying to tell you something.
that really works well, because what's happening there, and I'll use the example, in your life right now, the energy I feel there, you're wanting so strongly to have a certain direction with work or a certain way of dealing with it. And the more we intensify on that, the more we're blocking the flow of energy that Spirit's helping us with.
Well, just in everything, I'd like to not so much, I mean, just get everything in order. I'm just trying really hard, and it just seems like the flow is disrupted. It's for me, it's like I'm not getting a lot of good flow.
Well, the energy I'm feeling there, I feel you're learning to let go of things and not feel like I have to be in charge of it or I have to be in control of it. I'm doing what I can do to accomplish what I need to, because there are certainly things in life we can have a choice of change in. And then there's things in life that are going to be occurring that we don't really have we're not in the driver's seat and we're not steering it. And it's something that when we feel that, or we feel, even though we may have some control, we may look at it and think, well, I'm feeling like I'm on slippery roads here. I can't control everything as easily. Then we need to let go of it and not try to control it and just put it in God's hands. And that's that separateness of spirit mind, where we're allowing the spirit world to help us and just trusting that they already are. They already have it in hand. They already have the answers, and to trust and allow it.
Well, I'm trying to do it in little increments. I wanted to like do the whole thing, an overview. I wanted to get everything all accomplished everywhere. And of course that's not possible.
Right.
So I've been trying to break it down into a little thing that I can accomplish and trying to get the guidance there. So do you think that's the right track for that, for the whole thing that's going on now?
For you, you always single things out and focus on them. And it's something that's an intensity for you to be able to work on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then at times you feel overwhelmed by all the other things that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a re-choosing then as to, well, what do I need to focus on? And I feel the energy there that Spirit has the focus and we need the trust.
So in order to get that from the soul mind, how do you get them to like tell you? I mean, how does that feel when it comes?
I think the big thing is the first step is not what they're telling you, it's the idea of you trusting. And as you're allowing Spirit to handle it, it's going to work so much better and so much easier, and it's not going to be the resistance that you've normally had.
Okay.
It'll work better for you. And it's also something that you're stepping back a bit and realizing how selfish people can be it a work environment, be it a family environment. They want what they want to satisfy what they need or want. And they're not thinking about you at times, they're just thinking about them.
Right.
And that's where I feel that selfishness is surfacing and people have to recognize it. And you're recognizing it in other people and you're beginning to step back and not allow it to be taken over your life, or that I have to respond to everything they want. I'm not going to allow it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have a question?
Lucille.
Lucille?
Hi.
Hi, I can hear you.
Very good. Lately, I've been getting an opportunity of having people I know ask me to do readings for them, and they aren't necessarily more difficult, but they are. Do you have any advice for how to not feel like you know more than you should?
Are you speaking of this concerning friendships and people close to you?
Yes, and then they ask you for a reading, and then if I mean, it's like it's almost like you know too much about them.
Well, let me say it this way. I have seen that many times with many people. And the big thing is when you're trusting Spirit, that you have to then almost like consciously set yourself aside and say, whatever Spirit's giving me, I will share it in a very gentle and respectful manner. And
Mm-hmm.
if you do that, you're then maybe saying something to them that they may not like, or it isn't the outcome they desired, but you're being completely honest with Spirit, and Spirit's being completely honest with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, we need to have that little dividing line and just say we focus on our purity and not worry about what's coming through, but what do we really feel?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at times, especially when we're not used to doing it all the time, I mean, for myself here, I think it's 48 years, 49 years now I've been here as a registered medium. And I find people I've read for 30 years, 37 years, 40 years. I have clients that I've read for that long, many of them. And I look at the idea of I'm greeting them and I shake their hand or talk to them, and there's a feeling of recognition. But in a meditative way, when I do the prayer, because I always do a prayer before I start with a reading, and when I do that, that separates me from the conscious connection to the Spirit connection. And whatever they're giving me, I'm giving it clearly and straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had it happen many times where, I have remember one lady saying to me, she goes, "Oh my God, Greg," she says, "that isn't what I wanted to hear." But it happened exactly the way it came out from Spirit. But at a conscious basis, that was not the way she wanted things to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, I said, well, that's the purity of asking Spirit and staying out of the way. So when you're experiencing them asking you questions or even saying, well, I want a reading, I just feel with you to have that clarity to yourself to say, all right, I do that little separation where it's only Spirit bringing this through.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that at times that when I'm looking at them and I'm talking, there are times I'm not really consciously there and completely aware of what's going on, but I've also trusted Spirit to keep everything in check and do it in the right way. The responsibility of doing it really respectfully and correctly, I've already established with Spirit. So when you establish that thought and you're putting out that intent to Spirit, they're then going to be very clear about what they're giving, and it'll line right up. And I know that at times you're going to have people go, well, I really didn't want to hear that. But, that's okay. That's what came through. I had I had an experience where I had a woman say to me one time, she said, well, I really want to know. And I want to know the exact, whatever's going to occur, I want to know the exact thing. Well, she was very disturbed at me after I told her what I told her. And it came through from Spirit. It wasn't me thinking about it at all. And the events that were going to occur were not at all the outcome she wanted. It blew up on her, and she tried forcing it to make it work, and everything lined up exactly the way the reading happened. And she ended up coming back a year later, and normally she'd have been more open and more communicative, and she came back a year later and she goes, "You scare me." And I said, well, what do you mean I scare you? And she goes, well, you gave me a reading. And she says, there was a bunch of things in the reading. She says, I didn't even want to hear that. I was like, that's not what I wanted in my life or my children's lives. I said, but it's all lessons. We're all learning, we're all growing, and that's what we're here for. And if we choose to do the lesson the hard way or the easy way, right way or the wrong way, it is our free will and choice. And if we're listening to Spirit and allowing Spirit to guide us, we can have a speed bump in life instead of a mountain. And we're needing to recognize that in ourselves, that it isn't so much what we're doing with other people as what are we doing with and for ourselves, and how are we doing things in a way that we're letting the flow occur where it brings harmony. We can create disharmony very easily just by being consciously forceful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found myself, because I wanted to give a reading with integrity, and I found myself stopping and asking Spirit. It's like, okay, is this from Spirit? Let me know. And then I'd see how I felt about it, and I kind of knew then, but I understand what you're saying now is just set it up with the integrity to begin with, and then the message is the message.
Yeah, the message is a message, and it's not something you have to sit back and debate or think about. That's
Mhm.
like when I teach classes where I have people in person, we had students, probably 23, 24 people in a room at the same time in a large circle. And I do a two-day seminar. And when I do that, I get to see them eye to eye, everyone right there. And I always see people in a circle setting, so that way we have full view of everyone. And I could feel the energy from certain people at times going, well, I don't quite agree with that. I can make this happen, no matter what it was, but I can make it happen. And I sort of chuckle at it because I've had it happen where I tell people things and they look at me like, well, that's like impossible in their mind, but it
Mhm.
lines up and occurs. You have to realize spirit is always around us, always in tune to our life and what's going on. We're the ones out of tune at times. It's not spirit.
Mhm.
And if we allow ourselves to be focused on and intent wise focusing on spirit, we're then going to have the flow and attunement, and it's going to work very well. Whether it's a reading, whether it's a healing, whether it's a direction as to which way do we go. I've even had it happen where I'm driving a car, I would take a different route somewhere, and I'd get there and they'd say, oh, there was a horrible accident. It was all blocked up on the highway. Well, the spirit guided me to go another way.
Mhm.
And it can be the simplest things. I remember going to a restaurant one time and I had a car full of people, and I'm going to this restaurant and it was a big meeting, everybody's getting together and they had to be like 60 people there. And I heard Spirit say to me, once around the building. And I drove around the building the second time. And as I come to the front door, a lady jumps in the car, pulls out. I pull in right beside the handicap spot, almost in front of the door. And there had to be 10 cars in the parking lot looking for people, and they're looking for a parking spot. So it's like, it can be the simplest things, but it can also be the most spiritual and important. And we need to be aware of that trust, allowing that to occur.
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you.
The next person is Caroline. Hang on.
Caroline,
Hi, how are you?
good. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I have a question and it has to do with dreams because oftentimes I think it's the soul. Your soul's trying to get your attention through your dreams.
Yes.
I don't know if it's true or not, but so here's the weird thing is like I've had at least 4 dreams in the last month and they've all been very fearful dreams and I typically don't have fearful dreams.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that this is a lesson for me to let go of fear because I haven't been paying attention closely enough within my own life to recognize things like I just automatically accept thought and I don't question it. And I'll give you, for instance, I support Nellis Air Force Base here in Las Vegas, and just within the last week, there have been 3 fighter jets that have crashed.
Mm-hmm.
One in Eglin Air Force Base. I think the pilot survived. Pilot in Canada, he went down with his plane. He died. And then there was another one somewhere else. But I had a dream that my cousin, who used to be a helicopter pilot, died in a crash. And he's not going to die. I know he's not going to die, but it was just like it made me ask myself, I have accepted this fear. It's something that I just automatically said, well, I don't know. I'm just,
Let me say it this way. The experience you had, what I feel from Spirit is simply this. You needed to experience fear because not normally would you experience fear. You would not even think in that direction. Your thought process would not normally go that direction. So the experience you're having of those events are an experience there of awakening to what people feel. And you're recognizing it, and it was a little shocking to you, to have that happen. True?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, because the last 4 dreams I've had they've been just horrible dreams. I dreamt that my left leg broke and grew off in another direction. I mean, just some really strange stuff.
Well, what's happening there is you in this lifetime would normally have a very positive way of looking at everything, or even if there's an event occurring that you could look at as harmful, that you're always looking for the way out of it and how do we do something to change it to make it better. And you're focused to be that, but you also did not necessarily feel or experience the fear that some people get into. And some people experience that and they get really, let's say, paralyzed by it. And for you to experience that is helping you understand other people and understand their reaction to things, as well as the idea of the depth of what they get into. And you're feeling it, so you're understanding it more. And I would look at it as a blessing because you're feeling things that you're not used to, and we're learning from it. And to allow yourself to have the dreams and promote the thought of intent that please show me something I could be helpful with. Now, mind you, you're not going to go to the airport and say the guy's going to crash, you better land the plane. It's the idea that you're going to send out thought and prayer for that circumstance. And no matter where the circumstance is, doesn't matter. You're going to put out that healing energy for them in whatever circumstance it is. And if, God bless them, if they're supposed to leave the body, they will. And if they're not going to leave the body, they won't. But you're surrounding it in light and you're surrounding it in healing prayer. And that's what I feel part of the message is like all the people that have been hit with this pandemic and a lot of them have passed over. I feel that look at the separation of family and the loved ones that are sick and the forced separation of not even being able to visit, not to go hold their hand, not give them a hug. All these limitations of sharing. It's making us look at what sharing really is and how important it really is. And it doesn't matter whether it's just family or friendships or work people. We need to share. We need to be supportive. And you're tapping into the fear that some people experience, which is actually a wonderful experience for you because now it's like, oh my God, I understand something I wouldn't have been in tune to before.
Okay, because now that makes sense because I don't do the fearful dreaming because I know that it's fear.
Right.
And I try to put my faith in God, knowing that, all good things will come, show your faith. So okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. God bless you. Any other question? We're going to wrap it up here. We're coming up to the hour.
Oh, Ken?
Ken?
Yeah. He's not letting me unmute.
Get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you are.
All right.
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I want to be as saying about this. I recently lost a pet who was a very, very important part of my life.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on in general. And I guess I'm just seeking support in that I'm trying to take the right path because I would like answers and guidance, but I also realize that I don't know what the answers are or what the guidance should that I want to be. I want to be open to what I would be the best thing to do.
Well, let me say it to you this way. I feel like you've been hit with a thunderstorm of things occurring. It's not just losing the pet, but other events around your life that have been occurring recently. And the frustration you feel of feeling at times like you're not in control of any of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I am. I'm not a person who deals with being alone well, and I guess I've just been trying to figure out. I truly have been trying to say, look, give me guidance. I don't I don't know which way I should be going, but I do need some guidance.
Well, one of the first things I'm feeling is that your pet's with you, and I feel they're around you. And would you recognize you sometimes experience feeling that they jump on your bed?
Um, well, I have a toy that she used to, she didn't play with much, but it was one of the few things she played with, and I take it with me to bed. I have a little outfit she wore that I take with me too. She couldn't, her arthritis wouldn't let her get into the bed later on, so I couldn't do that. I do feel she's with me.
I see her with you a lot, and I feel a very loving energy. And I feel your pet was almost human in a sense of communication, telepathically. It's like you knew and they knew exactly what each of you meant and exactly what each of you thought and felt. And I feel the energy there is wonderful, and they're with you and love you, and they're in a freedom now of not having the physical limitations in the body that they would have had while they were here. And that's just amazing for them to have that, let's say, youthfulness of I can jump and I can do things, and what they at one time used to do. And I feel their presence and love there. And would you recognize you've had an experience where you thought you heard them breathing?
Oh, it's very weird because she had trouble with breathing.
Yes.
And that was a major difficulty for me because I didn't know how to handle all of what was going on with her. And I've never known an animal, she looked into me. She didn't look at me.
Yes. Well, I see her showing up, and I feel you're going to hear the breathing, and you may have it when you're in bed, you may have it when you're awake during the day, but I see her wanting to gain your attention, but she also wants you to know the reason it would come through in that manner is she recognized that it's her without question, but she does not have those limitations anymore. She has perfect harmony of health and everything there on the spirit side, but that's her way of saying, hey, I'm with you, and you recognize me.
So should I be trusting? I guess the other part was, am I doing the right thing by asking for guidance? I mean, I know, but I'm very outer directed, so I think I'm doing the right thing by trying to say, hey, what needs to be done needs to be done. I need to find out, but I don't always know if I'm being receptive to it. And
well, I think we all question our receptivity at times, but I feel with you, there's a level there that I don't feel you've been able to reach a point yet where mourning is something behind you. Mourning is still at the moment in your life, and you mourning the loss, and that's something where then our conscious mind goes back and forth questioning things. Was that a real feeling? Was that spirit? Was that the loved one? And then is it my mind? And as I'm just wanting it. So, I mean, there's all kinds of questions we get into, but the calmer you are, more a prayerful, meditative manner, I know you're going to experience and recognize the difference without a question. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, she died. She died just before we went into shutdown here, so it's pretty. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. God bless you, and we'll keep you in the prayers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, listen, we just went over the hour a little bit here, and I thank everyone for being here. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you get something out of it that would be really meaningful for you. And you've seen information on this, how to reach someone, learn a reading or something like that. And I do believe we're going to get things going in Lilydale here in the future. So, bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.